Hey YouTube, this is Firewizard23, and I wanted to do this video because I wanted to talk about the book series, A Series of Unfortunate Events, written by the ghostwriter Lemony Snicket. I have looked up what the guy's actual name is. I haven't committed it to memory, but let's get on to the point of my discussion. I had got interested in reading this series just because, you know, when Harry Potter happened, this book was coming out. These books were coming out about the same time Harry Potter was becoming really, really popular, and I think they got really overshadowed. And so I decided to take up the first book, The Bad Beginning, and I proceeded through all the series, getting really, really invested in what was happening. First off, major spoilers. Turn this off if you are reading these books, or if you want to read these books, or you just don't want to know what happens, okay? Just stop now, okay? If you really don't want to hear it, stop now. Okay, because I've read the entire series now, and I want to give my general synopsis of how I feel about it. First, as to the writing style, I really enjoy how the books are written. I think the author has a lot of fun trying to discuss how he brings in a lot of different parallels to different situations into what's happening with the main characters. Basic synopsis. The book series primarily deals with three orphans, Violet, Klaus, and Sunny Boulder. And the first thing that happens at the beginning of the story is their family is killed in a fire. They are orphaned because their family mansion burns down, and they are left without parents. And so they are sent to various guardians throughout the series. The primary first one being Count Olaf. And his greedy plan is he wants the Baudelaire fortune because Violet is only 14, the oldest of the Baudelaires. And until she becomes 18, once she becomes 18, she can actually inherit the Baudelaire family fortune. So Olaf is trying to come up with some kind of plan so he can get their fortune. And each of the books subsequently, Olaf basically chases them throughout all 13 books. He is their first guardian, but then they have different guardians throughout the next books. Going down at the reptile room, they have Uncle Monty. In the wide room, they have Aunt Josephine. In the fourth one, the miserable mill, they have Sir. He's a guy who owns a lumber mill. He's just called Sir, even though his name is really complicated. He says his name is really complicated, so it's easier to just call him Sir. The Astaire Academy, they have Vice Principal Nero. In the Erzad's elevator, they have Jerome and Esme Squalor. In the Vile Village, they have an entire village looking after them, and then there's a paradigm shift after that where, because of the events of the Vile Village, no one takes them in as a guardian, and they kind of have to look after themselves for the final 6 books. And I really became invested in the characters. To give a brief synopsis of them, Violet Baudelaire, she's the oldest, she's 14, is a mad inventor. Oh my god, this girl is fucking MacGyver. I mean, I've never seen any... And what a powerful character for young girls. That she's not a pretty face, she's not shoehorned into girl things. No, she is an inventor, she is an engineer. I mean, this girl is crazy, the things she invents. They are literally stuck in one of these books in a brick cell with iron bars in the front. They have a pitcher of water, a wooden bench, and a loaf of bread, and she gets them out. Girl got skills. I mean, seriously. And I'm a really big fan of characters who have like little quirks. And Violet's big quirk is whenever she's really thinking very hard, she will tie her hair up in a bow above her head and tie, because she's trying to keep the hair out of her eyes so she can think. I just love that. I love Violet Baudelaire. I am such a Violet Baudelaire supporter. Not only for the things I've stated of her being an awesome character, but for the fact that she's a very much a female empowered character. I mean, oh my god, I want all young girls to know Violet Baudelaire. Not even a question. By the way, I apologize if I'm totally slaughtering the last name, but I've always said Baudelaire. It's Baudelaire is how it's pronounced. It's how it's spelled. But I might be pronouncing it incorrect, but I'm fairly certain they're supposed to be French. The middle child, Klaus Baudelaire, he is 12, and both Violet and Klaus do have a birthday in the course of the series, so they do become 15 and 13 respectively. Klaus is a reader, and at least from more primarily a researcher in the course of the books, and his function is pretty much in every single book series they come across a library of some kind of sort, and Klaus's main function in the series is he is forced to go through very heavy, thick volumes, and he can find information very, very quickly. and he knows how to find that information very, very quickly, and he's incredibly well read. At least I believe as readers, we're led to believe that Klaus is capable of reading at levels far higher than... I always imagine Klaus, even though he's 12, he can read at like a college level. It's not that he knows every single word, but it's just he's so well read. And because a big thing that happens in the series is a lot of big words come up where they literally turn to Klaus and say, just turn to him, and he instinctively knows how to define the word because he's seen it somewhere, and he just knows how to do it. And the last is Sunny Baudelaire. Sunny Baudelaire is an infant at the beginning of the series, and the most striking feature of Sunny Baudelaire, she's a girl, is her 4 large sharp teeth, and she uses that to bite things. That's primarily what she does in the beginning of the books, is that if like any of the characters are in trouble, she might just simply bite something, just like, get off us, ah! Just to bite them, just to get them out. She also has used them to climb, to cut things. She's very versatile with her teeth. Later on, Sunny also develops cooking interests, and she uses her teeth to cut food as well. And you kind of have to stretch your disbelief a little bit with some things that happen. Another thing about Sunny Baudelaire that I freaking love. Sunny being a baby, and later on she makes a proclamation in one of the books, I'm not a baby, and she like literally stands up and walks to her because she has become like a young little girl, like say 3 or 4. You kind of envision that she's becoming kind of more of a toddler than just an infant baby. But she has the habit most of the time of speaking in one word. What is that? She'll just say just a random word that just instantly implies a much more longer sentence. And towards the end of the series, it becomes much more defined what she's trying to say. And it is the coolest thing where the 3 orphans are having a conversation with somebody, and all of a sudden Sunny will be like, "Who's that?" And one of the other orphans will just turn to the adult they're talking to and just say, "My sister means that," and they just know instantly what she says. It's so cool. Oh, and another thing. In The Miserable Mill, Sunny has a sword fight with a character. I forget which character it is, but there's like, shit's going down. Shit's going down at the end of the story. And someone pulls a sword on Sunny Baudelaire, and she's a baby. She sword fights with her teeth, and she wins. I don't remember if she wins so much, but she holds her own. It's like, that's really freaking cool. That just makes her awesome. So I freaking love the kids. I love the 3 kids. And so to that effect, let's talk about the main antagonist, who is Count Olaf. Count Olaf, the first guardian, he wants the Baudelaire family fortune, and his plan is he needs to in some way get the inheritance into his name. So his first, I'll go through the main plans of the 13 books. In the first book, he is their guardian. His plan is, now he also runs a theater troupe which contain his cohorts that kind of follow him throughout the stories. There's a man with hooks for hands, there's 2 white-faced women, there's a person who looks like neither a man or a woman, and I think a very bald man. I'm sorry if I'm missing somebody. But his plan is, okay, I'm going to get the Baudelaire family fortune, so how can I do it? Researching nuptial law, his decision is he's going to marry Violet. It's like, what? Yeah, his plan is to marry Violet. But then you ask, well, the kids will never agree. The kids hate Olaf. Olaf, makes them do chores and stuff and, treats them terribly. He's a jerk. It's very obvious what his intention is. I mean, he holds, knives to them. I mean, that's how mean he is. I mean, it's not even a question in the reader's mind. He's a bad guy. At least at the beginning, you get the idea that that's just his whole plan. So Count Olaf says, okay, I'm going to marry Violet. Here's what we're going to do. He creates a fake stage play. I'm not even kidding. This is what he does. It's incredibly complex what he's doing here. He creates a fake stage play, but gets all the people he needs on the stage to make this legal. And Violet's going to be part of it, and they think it's entirely a play, but in turn, all the things are necessary to happen on stage for the marriage to be legit, and he has Violet sign the document, making it official at the end of the play. Violet, in her huge thinking ability, she decides that the only way she can get out of this is, I guess, the final line of the nuptial law, which says, the bride shall sign in her own hand. And Violet, thinking very quickly, realizes that she is right-handed, and so she signs the document with her left hand, therefore getting out of it. To which, this is my first major knock of the whole series. Every adult is incompetent. Okay, I won't say that, but every adult who is in charge is completely incompetent. I'm sorry, I cannot forgive the series for this. I understand why. Okay, because the whole point is, if the Bulldogs are supposed to be the heroes of the story, okay? So maybe I gotta give a little bit of latitude, but I mean, it's almost to an nth degree. I mean, some of the adults are just dumb. I mean, nobody is this freaking blind. And the adults don't get it when the kids are just trying to tell them Count Olaf is bad. Okay, do you not? Also, Olaf wears various disguises throughout the entire series. And it's like, that's Count Olaf. No, it isn't. Count Olaf has a big feature of Count Olaf is a tattoo on his ankle of an eye. And they're like, that's not Count Olaf. He's wearing socks. He doesn't have a tattoo on his eye, of an eye on his ankle. Are you serious? Like, nobody is this dense. And the whole purpose of that is so the kids can be the hero. That's why that's being done. That's why the adults have to be incompetent so the kids can save the day. I realize I'm not going to run through all the books here, but essentially Olaf's treachery goes throughout the books. He follows them in the guise of like assistance to the other Guardians, and in some way comes into all the other Guardians to try to. He wants to build their fortune. His plan is he's trying to get into being their guardian again, even in a false bravado, just so he can get their fortune. That's the main thread of what Olaf is doing. There's also a banker named Mr. Poe, and he is the one who's actually responsible for the Baudelaire family fortune, and he has been finding the kids' various guardians throughout the first 7 books. That's his main plot thread. And he's an idiot! I'm sorry, I understand there are incompetent people in the world, but it bothered... The series... This is the first big wank I have with the series. I'm sorry to use the word wank, but I think it's appropriate here. The adults are stupid. Either they are completely malicious and overly evil, or they are stupid. And I have a problem with that. I have a problem because that doesn't make sense. Am I looking for grand operatic storytelling here? Of course not. Of course I'm not looking for that. But... And I'll get more into why that bothers me as I kind of talk about the last books in the series, which, wrap up all the events, obviously, and close the story off. We end up finding out through the course of the series about an organization called the VFD, which throughout many, many misleads of the series is what VFD might stand for and various things that it does stand for. For example, the hostile hospital, it represents the volunteers fighting disease. And they have a little poem they sing throughout the whole of the story. It's kind of amusing. And we end up learning that the eye on Count Olaf's ankle, actually, when looked at a very particular angle, actually is VFD. And another organization that it represents is the Volunteer Fire Department. And at some point, there was a schism? S-C-H-I-S-M, a division of the group. And at some point, a lot of them wanted to help the world, and a lot of them wanted to destroy the world. To cause chaos, and Olaf was on the chaos side of that. We meet Esme Squalor in Israd's elevator, who ends up leaving her husband Jerome to go with Count Olaf. I'm the new bad villain with Olaf, and I'm going to get you kids, and I want to be rich and be in is her thing. We also meet another character who really didn't do anything. Carmelita Spatz, who is just She's a bratty kid for the purpose of being a bratty kid, and she doesn't really do anything. We meet her at Austere Academy, where the kids have to go to an academy because they can't find a suitable guardian, and he meets them. We also meet, at the Austere Academy, the Quagmire triplets. First, just Isadora and Duncan, and then we discover that the third one, Quigley, is actually still alive, even though they believe he's dead. Because we also get information throughout the series that there's something called the Snicket Fires, and the kids are trying to figure out what actually happened in their lives. Why did the fires happen? What happened to their parents? What is the ultimate answer here? What the kids ultimately are trying to figure out why in the world all these things are happening to them, and how Harry Potter, they want to figure out. Harry wants to know what the mystery is of his past, what's going on, and the kids want to know the same thing. And just to give you a quick rundown of the 3 Quagmire triplets, because it's interesting. We have Duncan, who is a journalist. He likes to write. or at least has aspirations of being a journalist, and he writes things down in his book. We have Isadora, who is a poet, and she likes to write poets specifically in couplets. That becomes actually a narrative plot point in the Vile Village. And there is Quigley, who is a cartographer, who actually is really skilled at maps and stuff. Maps, which I get totally good at these kids. That's awesome. I did want to mention before I continue the fact of I wanted to mention the good kind of side characters who do pop up. In The Miserable Mill, Sir's assistant is Charles, who's actually, like, a really, really good guy. And I thought at some point he would come back, like, to do something. Unfortunately, he doesn't. In Austere Academy, we have the two teachers of Klaus and Violet, who actually aren't actually that bad when you really get down to it. We have Isder in Isdad's Academy. We have Jerome, Esme's former husband. In Vile Village, we have Hector, who is where they live with. The whole village is looking after them, but the idea, it takes the village is called the Village of Foul Devotees, because it's full of crows, or VFD. And Hector lives on the outskirts of town, and he's simply where they live, and each of the little characters like little quirks. For example, he cooks Mexican food. That's all he cooks. Hostile Hospital, we meet, Hal, who is the custodian of the Library of Records. In Carnivorous Carnival, we have Olivia posing as Madame Lulu? Madame, I can't remember her name, the books are, like, over there, but, a gypsy. She's a gypsy fortune teller. Slippery Slope, we have, Slippery Slope? Oh, that's Quigley. We meet Quigley in that book. Who was that? Bruce? I want to say Bruce. The guy, it was actually somebody who came when people die in these books, okay? We have the parents who died in the first book, Reptile Room. Uncle Monty actually died in the Wide Window. Aunt Josephine actually died, both by Count Olaf, by the way. Nobody died in Miserable Mill. Austere Academy, nobody died. Nobody died. It's the hospital. Carnivorous Carnival. Carnivorous Carnival, we actually lost Olivia, the Madame Luna character. We also lost the guy who looks like neither a man nor a woman. I think we lost her. Slippery Slope, we actually lose Bruce at the end of it. We never see him again. Grim Grotto, we have Captain... I can't remember his name, but it's actually not important, and his daughter, who actually has a thing for Klaus. Also, Quigley Quagmire actually has a thing for Violet. I totally thought they were going to develop that at some point, even just a little bit, say, they had the first kiss or something like that, to be something cute, but no. Which I'm leading to one of my big problems. Okay, Penultimate Peril, 12th book in the series. It is the biggest mindfuck, the 12th book, because the idea is just to show just how complex things really are for all the kids. Because basically every single series character is there in Penultimate Peril, and guess what? They all die. I'm not even kidding. The hotel is completely burned down, partially through the kids' actions and Count Olaf, and every side peripheral character dies. I'm not even kidding. I mean, it does not include the captain and the daughter or the Quagmire triplets, but we later learned that they actually ended up dying too. It's like, okay, that happened. Like, okay, I hadn't read the 13th book yet. I was gonna say, okay, are you gonna have some kind of big epiphany of what? Are we gonna finally get, like, all the answers? Then we get to the end. The last book gets the kids washed up on an island with Olaf. They find a guy who is keeping the island passively serene, not introducing anything new, because it would introduce the wickedness of the world and the unfortunate things that happen. They find out that he has been secretly documenting basically the entire life of every unfortunate event that's ever happened, which includes their lives. All the kids end up getting infected with a disease, including the 3 Bouldelaires, one which Sonny had already dealt with. They managed to get around it. He leaves with all his people. Olaf and another character die. They are left with their... Wait, I'm going to get this wrong. Okay, wait a minute. If that is his niece, that would make that their... We learn it is the niece of the author. The child who was born is the niece of Lemony Snicket. I'm trying to remember what the connection is between the Snickets and the Bouldelaires, and I apologize if I have this wrong. But there is a married interconnection here. Lemony Snicket, as it turns out, actually, and we learn little things about Beatrice as we go along. Beatrice is the name of the Bouldelaires' mother. And it turns out Lemony actually was actually pursuing Beatrice at one point. And as it turns out that he doesn't end up marrying her. She ends up marrying into the Boulder family. I can't remember. There is actually a distinct connection with Violet Clausen Sonny and the new baby Beatrice Snicket. And I can't remember. My big problem with the end, nothing is resolved. Nothing. We've literally killed off every single peripheral character. We never figure out what the schism was that broke up VFD. We never figure out. I think. Wait, I'm gonna get it. One sec. I'm gonna get it because I have to read this again. One sec.
Where's that book? Where is that book?
Because it's something that's kind of hinted at in the books, and finally Klaus just says it right to yeah, here it is. I'm going to read the actual passage here. He stares at Olaf right in the eyes and he says, "You're the one who made us orphans in the first place." And I'm reading the passage right here, and Olaf kind of looks at the kids, and he's like, "Is that what you think? We know it. You don't know anything," he said. And it's like, I feel like he never just confirms it. Yes, I am the one who burned down the Boulder Mansion. I think it's highly hinted at, it's just never stated directly. And I think, and we never learn why he did it. Okay, let's just say he wanted the Boulder family fortune. Why does he want their fortune? Is he mad that, we kind of learned that he's some kind of, oh yeah, we learned in the first book that he's either the third cousin 4 times removed or the fourth cousin removed. Wake up. Sorry about that. Might have gone dark there for a sec. But we never learned why he did it. What did he have? In fact, okay, there's also another thing going on about a sugar bowl that takes place that we learn about in like the last few books that like is really, really important to the VFD. Something about this bowl is like really important. Never turns up in the end. Even though it's totally set up that it could be. Because the island literally in this like place where all the junk that pops up on this island that all the natives have been throwing them is literally supposed to be everything. Everything that ever is lost ends up on the island somewhere. And it's like, where's the bowl? You totally could have just written that. I mean, he wrote himself a way that the bowl could have just shown up and we could have figured out what the hell was in it. Even if it was just, if we open it up, here's all the answers. Like, this is what we've been looking for. But no, we never learned why Olaf burned down the mansion. Okay, if he wanted their fortune, fine, but why did he do it? Why did he kill? Oh, we learn in Ersat's elevator there is a secret passage below the penthouse apartment, below the building of the penthouse apartment where they're living with Jerome and Esme Squaller, that leads to underneath the burned ruins of the Boulder Mansion. Why is it there? Like, we never learned what was up with that. Why is that there? Like, and so much is just not answered. It's agitating. It's so agitating. As a reader, it's like, what is going on here? It bothered me. It bothered me finishing the book, and like, you didn't answer anything. Now, I'm going to come back to that, because there's at least 3 big things that this series does talk about that I think are wonderful ideas for kids. And I do understand this book series is kind of meant for like 7th, 8th graders. It's not really meant for my age, but I do have major gripes with how it ended, and I think certain things could have been answered, at least to give closure to the Boulevers, and to the readers of the Boulevers, because I really got invested in all 3 kids. I got really invested in these orphans. I'm like, I want to see them get out of this. I want to see them see Violet turn 18. I want to see them be at least able to have some control of their lives and not have to worry about Count Olaf or anyone bothering them ever again, or at least to the point that they can have some kind of not serenity, but stability. To have some kind of stability, because as the big turning point in Vile Village is that they think the kids killed someone. That's what happens. They become wanted murderers. They didn't actually do that, but people believe they did. Because of like media and stuff, they think that's what happened. So they end up having to go on the run. That's why the last books become a little bit different. Okay, so the big things that happen with these books that I do like, good lessons. There are terrible events and secrets that happen before you that you will never know about. And I think this is what I think the cop-out is that the writer used. I'm going to just say it flat out. This was a cop-out. This is the cop-out reason that I think he feels he doesn't have to answer it. Because the big thing that comes in, we literally get so much information. I wish I had a notebook next to me to write down half the stuff we learn just peripherally as the series is going on. Beatrice's relationship with Lemony Snicket. For example, in Esme's relationship to everything and why she becomes evil. In Irzad's elevator, she literally shoves the kids into a dark elevator, catching them in a net, and she says, "I will take from you just like Beatrice took from me." Like, it's setting it up like we're going to get this big reveal at the end of the series of what the hell happened. Why did all this shit go down? What's going on? And we never get it. And I think that's the biggest cop-out of the writing, is that they're saying, like, well, you're just never going to know. Snicket? Fuck you. I'm sorry. That is literally my answer to that. That is not an answer when you write 13 books and you're just saying you don't have a right to answer that. And I know he's written like little supplementary materials and like, oh, here's the Snicket papers and here's this and that. Like, no. This could have been answered for the Bulldozaires. They have a right to know what happened to them. And we as a reader have a right to know, why did all this stuff happen? I mean, it's cool that you just want to tell this cool story, but I wanted them at least to get to a neutral point at the end of the series. Or at least they could say, we are safe. We fixed it. And yes, Olaf does die at the end of the books. But that's not good enough. At least they could kind of figure out what the hell happened. I mean, after everything that's gone on, what the hell is going on? Why did all this stuff have to happen to them? They deserve some kind of closure. The reader deserves some kind of closure on that. And I don't think you answered that. I don't think you satisfactorily answered that for your reading audience, and for the most part for your characters. I don't think they got the answer they wanted. Oh, jeez. Oh, God, there's another. I wanted to bookmark this point, because this is what I thought the big epiphany of this was going to be. And it's such a well-done line. It's spoken by Violet. Where is it? Oh God, I want this line. It's very safety. Here it is. I'm going to read this line because I think this is probably the greatest epiphany. And even something else that the guy says afterwards, I'm like, I totally thought we were going to lead to some kind of epiphany here. You should respect your parents' wishes. It's more than the Bulldozaires ever did. We are respecting our parents' wishes, Violet said, hoisting the apples as high as she could. They didn't want to shelter us from the world's treacheries. They wanted us to survive them. Ishmael put his hand on the stockpot of apples. What did your parents know, he asked, about surviving? And that line from Violet, I think, is such a powerful message for kids. You know what, kids? Stuff is going to happen to you that just isn't fair. And you know what? The big thing is that you survive them. That you can get through things bad that happens. Snicket, I give you 100% brownie points. I love that more. I love that Violet hit that epiphany. She's like, this is what our parents really wanted. Because a big struggle in the last book is whether or not they should accept the safety of the world and accept someplace that's safe and ignore the fact that unfortunate things happen to people, or embrace them in some way. And I think that's a really good, it's a good lesson. I think that final note is a really good lesson for kids. Doesn't go anywhere. But the fact that it was stated, I like. I like the fact that it was at least stated, because I think it was such a powerful message. I liked it. I do give him points for that. I'm mad that nothing is resolved for the kids, but at least we get that message, which I thought was really powerful. And another thing, the final thing that's brought up is the morality of good and evil, and good and bad actions. Because towards the end of the series, the kids are doing some fairly dodgy things. It's like, our actions kind of invariably resulted in these people dying. Our actions kind of resulted in this happening. Our actions kind of resulted in this happening. At Penultimate Peril, they literally tell Olaf to burn down the hotel. They literally say it to him, which he's like thrilled because he loves burn. He's pyro, but there is some discussion, and they're doing it basically because they need to escape. I mean, they basically don't have a choice. The entire hotel is after them, and they're like, "This is the only option. We need to torch this hotel to the ground. This is the only way to get them to ignore us, so we can get out of here." So, and I think those are good discussions for kids to have. When at some point, when are you doing something right? Is it okay to masquerade as a villain just because you don't really have a choice? At least in some ways. Well, even from Olaf at some point, I think in Penultimate Peril, they literally say, "Olaf, you don't have to do this," and he turns to the kids in a very somber voice, like the first time you see a shred of humanity from him. He's like, "What else can I do?" And I so thought we were going to get to an epiphany of something, and we never do. Nothing is resolved for the characters. Nothing. We never learn what happened to why their parents had to perish. We never learned why Olaf burned down their house. He's the one who burned down the Blue Letter Mansion. Let's see what else we got here. The Sugar Bowl. So many notes here. I had written notes here about what I thought the series of unfortunate events was going to end to. And at least after I'd finished Vile Village, I wrote a couple notes to myself about what I thought we were heading to. My first theory was that there was not actually a huge Blue Letter fortune. That was the first big thing I kind of came to an epiphany about. I'm like, I wonder if they don't really have a lot of money. Like, Mr. Poe is guarding their money. He's like, Violet, you may take control of this when you're 18. I wonder if they don't actually have a lot of money. We never learned that. But, by the way, we never learned how big the Blue Letter family fortune is. We never learned that. We never learned in the entire series how much money they actually had ready for their kids in the event that this happened. We never learned that at all. It's a wank. It really is just so angering that, like, nothing is resolved about that. We never learn what happens when Violet turns 18. Even in the epilogue, we never learn that. They actually stay on the island for an entire year and then decide to leave, realizing, we gotta kind of take our chances with this. We can't just stay here forever. Because they now have the 1-year-old baby, and it's like, we need to just go. They become the impromptu guardian of the baby. I also thought this was so out there. I mean, I had such a weird idea about this. What if everything they're going through is a test to know that they can take their fortune? Because I thought the biggest reveal, maybe at the end of the series, was going to be that both their parents were still alive. Would be like, like they come to the island and they say, thank you, Blue Letters, here you are. Because actually, as it turns out, Ishmael knew who they were. And we find out why he knew that. But would it be so weird if, like, we came to, like, his secret cave and there was Mr. and Mrs. Bula there? And it's like, what? They're alive? And we learned this big deal. The entire thing was they had to learn this. Which I'd be like, what the fuck? Do you realize what these kids have been through? I mean, they had to watch people being murdered, things being burned down, that, in literal peril. They're accused of murder. It would be so crazy, but, like, I was waiting for this amazing reveal on that, that this was all like a test, which would be so insane. But obviously that's not what happened. But and again, I put a star here: the adults' incompetence. It's another thing that just really bothers me. Why are these people so incompetent? And we never learn it. We never learn why they're just so stupid. Only when they're blind to it. And yeah, I understand that some adults are blind, but this is almost comedically blind. Literally, Klaus and Sunny are inside a hospital. They have to disguise themselves. Now, they're kids. Okay, the kids and a baby. They put on hospital gowns, and Esme Squaller, the bad guy villain's girlfriend, does not recognize them. She does not recognize this doctor who is about as tall as her waist and looking up to her with glasses that are Klaus's glasses and does not recognize Klaus Bula there. Really? It's so angering. They kind of fixed it at the end of Carnivorous Carnival where they were trying to join up with Olaf just to kind of follow him to get to the next location where he was going to. And he evilly revealed that he knew who they were, and he separated them from he separated Klaus and Violet from Sunny, and he ran away with Sunny. Okay, I give him brownie points. Like, there's no way he's going to believe this twice. There's no way. Because in the end of Vile Village, they actually jumped in the back of his car so they could get, and they followed him to the hospital. No, I beg your pardon. At the end of the hospital, they jumped in the back of his car while the hospital was burning down so they could follow him. And they never got caught. And I was like, this is not going to work twice. And thank you, reader. It didn't work twice. Oh, by the way, this whole thing is supposed to be an account of Lemony Snicket's various notes of the events of the Bula Layers. I am not going to hear, oh, well, he couldn't explain the whole story of what happened to them because he wouldn't know that. No, that's a fucking cop-out. That is such a cop-out of writing, to say that he could not explain that in some way. We find a book that is literally called A Series of Unfortunate Events at the end of, in book 13, that literally chronicles every single unfortunate event. You could have explained this. I mean, you had the narrative device right there to literally explain every single reason why things happen to the Baudelaires. You could have completely explained it. And I've read notes people saying, oh, well, you could put all the clues together from all 13 books, and you could have figured stuff out. Okay, if that's what I was supposed to do, which I really do not believe, even reading these books, I have enough information to really put it all together. First off, you could have cued me at some point. Like, at the end of the bad beginning, you could have had an assortment of just note pages, just noting certain issues. Like, for example, just noting how Olaf was related to the Baudelaires, and et cetera, et cetera. You know, just give me little notes about certain things, just to kind of get me into the idea that maybe I should be taking notes, or at least to have those at the end of every book, so I can just kind of make notes of certain interesting pieces of information. Like, okay, even at the end of All Star Academy, we say, okay, there are the Quagmire triplets. We have Isidore and Duncan, and the third one is presumably dead. And just give me little notes. Beatrice's in Earstadt's elevator, we have Beatrice stating, because remember, none of this is resolved. It doesn't matter that we even know all this information. None of it is resolved. And I even reading all 13 books, I cannot really piece it together what exactly occurred for the Baudelaires and why it happened, and how they fit into all the puzzle of VFD. I really don't know, because it's just not stated. Because in Earstadt's elevator, like I said, Esme pushed him into the elevator shaft and said, "I'm going to treat you as badly because Beatrice stole from me," or something to that equivalent. That could have been stated as like notes at the end, but it's not. It to at least get us kind of, okay, these are kind of pieces of information we should be putting together. Do I have any more notes here? Carmelita, Charles, Hector, Olaf, Mr. Poe, Van, Library, the Hotel, like... Oh! The Hotel du Numet, where the penultimate peril happens. We learn there is a library underneath the lake that is next to the hotel that literally contains every single piece of information that would solve everything, da-da-da-da, and we never see it. We hear of it, we're told about it, the character dies, we never see it again. We never hear of it. We never see it even once. Fuck you. I'm sorry, I'm angry. You cannot set that up and say, we're just not even going to go there. I'm sorry. So, I mean, that's how I generally feel. I feel like what was written here, you were really building to a very unique climax, and I think it was just a cop-out. And if the idea was just to say... I understand it from the standpoint of you wanted to say that sometimes bad things happen and there are bad things that you just simply will never know about. I understand if that's the message you wanted to read, to give to your audience. I understand that, Snicket. But you were never... It is unsatisfying from a reading standpoint to not have closure. And I think that's the biggest problem. We have no closure of any of these series of unfortunate events. We have no closure for the Baudelaires. And it's just unsatisfying. I'm sorry. I left literally with filth in my mouth. I'm like, what the hell happened? I want to know what the hell happened here. What is going on? How does all this fit together? Alright. That's all I got, folks. This has nearly been a 40-minute video. I'll see you next time. Take care and bye-bye for now, everybody.